Carl Jung discovered that true self-love is not about standing in front of a mirror and repeating affirmations, trying to convince yourself that you are enough. Real self-love is born in the moments when you face your shadow, those hidden parts of yourself that you've buried deep because of fear. Fear of judgment, fear of being rejected. Since childhood, we've been conditioned to conceal anything that might make us seem less acceptable. If you were ever told you were too emotional, too intense, or not enough, you likely learned to suppress those parts of yourself. You began to hide your truth, believing it was the only way to be loved or accepted. And yet, those wounds don't simply vanish. They linger, silently shaping the way we relate to others. Jung taught that we attract what we haven't yet healed. So if deep down you feel unworthy of love, you will unconsciously gravitate towards people who mirror that belief back to you. Not because the universe is cruel or punishing you, but because your subconscious is trying to guide you toward what still needs healing. It's as if life is handing you a mirror again and again, showing you the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. That's why so many people find themselves trapped in repetitive cycles, going from one relationship to the next, always hoping for something new, only to end up in the same place, with the same pain, wearing a different face. One of the most painful patterns is when we try to find in others what we're not giving to ourselves. We wait for someone to come along and make us feel worthy, to validate us, to love us unconditionally. But here's the truth. No one can give you what you are not yet willing to give yourself. The love you receive from the outside world will always be a reflection of the love you carry within. And when you finally start to love yourself in a real, profound way, something shifts. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth to others because you know who you are. You stop begging for affection because you realize that your love isn't something to be bargained for. It's something sacred, something to be shared with those who truly deserve it. At that point, your energy changes. And with that shift, the people who show up in your life begin to change too. Some people who once felt essential may start to drift away. At first, that might feel like a loss, like you're being abandoned. But in truth, it's a cleansing. You're clearing space for people who align with your new vibration. Those who see you, who uplift you, who match your frequency. Relationships no longer come from a place of need, but from conscious choice. You no longer surround yourself with those who drain you, but with those who empower you. Still, this process isn't easy. There will be moments when fear creeps in, when you question everything. Did I make the right choice? Was it worth it? And then there's the silence, the loneliness that arrives like a test. But it's in that silence where the real encounter happens, the one with yourself. It's there, in that quiet space, that you realize you were never truly alone, that you have always been enough, and that the love you were chasing outside was always waiting within. That's the moment where the magic begins. When you release the desperate need to be validated, suddenly you start receiving the recognition you once begged for. When you stop searching for love in the external world, the right people start to enter your life, effortlessly. Not because you've changed your strategy, but because your entire vibration has shifted. Because when you truly love yourself, only those who are worthy of your light will find their way to you. The relationships we attract are never random. They are mirrors, perfectly reflecting the level of consciousness we're living in. If you operate from a mindset of lack, you'll find yourself in relationships that reinforce that emptiness. If you carry unresolved wounds, you'll encounter people who press on, those exact spots, not to hurt you, but to reveal what still needs healing. Sometimes, life brings people into your path who challenge you deeply, people who disappoint you, betray you, make you feel like you're not enough. But if you look beyond the pain, you'll begin to see the truth. They are messengers from your subconscious. They are mirrors, reflecting back what you've been unwilling to see within yourself. It's easy to blame them, to point out their flaws, to get stuck in the role of the victim. But Jung would say that true learning doesn't come from books, lectures, or even advice. It happens when you stop and ask yourself, what is this experience trying to teach me about myself? That's where transformation begins, inside of you. Every person who enters your life is there for a reason. Some come to teach you a lesson. Others come to challenge your limits, to push you to grow. Some arrive to support you, to uplift and inspire you. And some show up simply to reflect what you've outgrown, what you no longer need. When you begin to understand this, something inside of you shifts. You stop clinging. You stop forcing things to last when they're meant to end. You stop holding on to people who were only meant to be chapters, not your whole story. You realize that not every relationship is meant to stay forever, but every single one leaves a mark. Every interaction shapes your process of individuation. That journey Carl Jung described as becoming your most authentic self. One of the most common mistakes we make is thinking that love is about finding someone who completes us. But real love, mature love, isn't about filling a void. It's about sharing fullness. It's not about needing someone to make you whole. It's about walking together, side by side, each already whole. That's the difference between relationships that drain you and those that nourish you. In one, you feel like you have to constantly give, to sacrifice parts of yourself just to be loved. In the other, you are simply allowed to be. No effort, no struggle, just presence and connection. If you've ever felt emotionally exhausted in a relationship, if you felt like you were always the one giving more, always trying harder, always carrying the emotional weight, then it's time to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what part of me is allowing this dynamic? Because the truth is, no one can make you feel inferior without your permission. No one can walk all over you unless you first ignore your own boundaries and dismiss the red flags. The problem is, we often stay in relationships that are not good for us, not because we don't know the truth, but because we're afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid we won't find anything better. Afraid of failing. But the real question we must ask ourselves is this: are we choosing from love or from fear? Because when you begin to choose from self-love, everything changes. You no longer accept emotional crumbs. You stop trying to convince someone to value you. You stop settling for less than you know you deserve. You finally understand that your energy is sacred, that your light is not meant to be dimmed by those who don't know how to appreciate it. And that's when something extraordinary happens. Jung called it synchronicity. Those moments when life starts to align in magical, almost impossible ways. Just when you let go of what isn't aligned with your soul, the universe begins to send you people, situations, and opportunities that are. And it's not luck, it's not magic, it's simply the result of your frequency changing. It's as if the universe was waiting for you to realize your own worth before delivering what had always been meant for you. But to reach that point, you must go through a deep transformation. You have to face your shadows, the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. You have to confront your deepest fears, those unconscious patterns that have kept you stuck in painful cycles. And this is never easy, because healing means releasing control. It means trusting that what you're letting go of was never meant for you, and that what is truly yours will come without force. This is where many people stumble. They try to let go, but with fear still in their hearts. They say goodbye to someone, but secretly hope that person returns. They claim they're choosing themselves, but deep down, they're still waiting to be chosen by someone else. And here's the truth. The universe doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you feel, to what you truly believe, deep inside. So when you truly love yourself, when you decide to prioritize your inner peace, your worth, your energy, everything starts to shift. You no longer settle for half-hearted love. You stop participating in toxic dynamics that leave you feeling empty. Because now you know, love is not about sacrifice, it's about sharing. Real love doesn't shrink you, it expands you. And the right person will never need to be convinced of your value. They'll see it from the very first moment. And when you reach that level of self-love, you stop waiting to be chosen. You choose yourself. And from that moment on, only those who are truly worthy of your light will be able to enter your life. Jung's concept of individuation isn't just a journey into self-awareness. It's a complete rebirth, a profound transformation that redefines your entire reality. On that path, self-love is not a luxury. It's not something you practice once in a while. It's a necessity. Because only when you embrace every part of yourself, including the broken, the rejected, and the hidden, can you attract relationships that reflect your true worth. It's easy to say, I love myself, when everything is going well, when your confidence isn't being tested, when there are no storms shaking your foundation. But real self-love is tested in the chaos. It's tested when someone walks away, when a relationship ends, when you are alone with your thoughts and your fears. That's when the truth comes out. Many people collapse under the weight of rejection. They internalize it as proof that they're not enough. They cling to what's no longer theirs simply because they're afraid of the unknown. But what if the unknown isn't something to fear? What if it's the space where your true destiny begins? What Jung taught us is something truly profound. The shadow is not our enemy. It's a teacher. It is the reflection of all that remains unhealed within us. It is the doorway to deeper transformation. If you've ever wondered why you keep attracting the same kinds of people, the same toxic dynamics, and the same painful problems over and over again, the answer isn't outside of you. It's not a coincidence. It's your unconscious, begging to be heard. It's showing you the same pattern again and again, not to punish you, but to wake you up, to bring it into your awareness so you can finally break it. Because when you refuse to see the lesson, life will repeat it for you. It might change the scenery, it might change the people involved, but the script will remain the same. Until you decide to wake up. Until you realize it's not about blaming others, it's about looking within. Self-love isn't just about setting boundaries or walking away from those who don't value you. It's also about asking yourself, why did I ever believe I deserved less than I'm truly worth? Why did I allow the world to convince me that I was not enough? To love yourself is to go back to the root of those wounds, to face them with courage, and to make the choice that they will no longer define you. And that is not easy. This process is uncomfortable. It will challenge you, because it requires you to stop seeking validation from the outside world and instead start giving to yourself what you've always longed to receive from others. But when you do that, When you genuinely begin to treat yourself with the same compassion, respect, and love you've spent your life searching for in others, everything starts to shift. Those who were only in your life because they could drain your energy will begin to disappear. Not because you push them away, but because they simply won't resonate with your energy anymore. The frequency you emit changes. Forced relationships will break apart because love cannot thrive in a place of lack. And suddenly, you'll start noticing something different. You'll begin attracting people who reflect your new level of self-love. People who see you. People who meet you where you are. And this is where Jung's most powerful concept comes into play: synchronicity. It's not that the universe magically rewards you for choosing yourself. It's that when you heal, your vibration changes, and with it, the experiences you draw into your life shift completely. The love you once chased so desperately now arrives effortlessly. The opportunities that once felt impossible suddenly appear with ease, because now, at last, you are a reflection of what you truly deserve. The question is, are you ready to let go of what no longer belongs to you? Are you ready to stop waiting for someone else to make you feel worthy and start recognizing your own value? Because the truth is, the answer has always been within you. It was never about the other person. It was never about the relationship that didn't work out. It was never about the rejection you experienced. It was always about you. And when you finally understand this, when you choose to love yourself without conditions, without fear, without doubt, life responds in the only way it can when someone has awakened. It shows you that you never needed to look outside for what has always lived inside of you. It's not about waiting for a sign from the world or needing someone else to validate your worth. Real transformation begins the moment you decide to stop betraying yourself, when you choose your own well-being above any fear, when you realize that the only person who can truly rescue you is you. Carl Jung once said, "What you most need will be found where you least want to look." And nothing could be truer, not just in love, but in life, and especially in your own inner evolution. Because the real obstacle has never been other people. It's never been the lack of opportunities or some cruel twist of fate working against you. The real issue has always been the deep resistance to seeing what's truly going on inside you. If you've ever found yourself trapped in a relationship that drains your spirit more than it nourishes it, if you've ever given your all to someone and felt like you were receiving breadcrumbs in return, if you've ever felt invisible to a person who never saw your true worth, then there's something important you need to understand. It is not your job to convince anyone to value you. You are not here to prove your worth, to fight for a place in someone's heart, or to twist yourself into someone else's definition of enough. You are here to shine, boldly and unapologetically, with the light that already belongs to you. You are here to be seen by yourself first, not by others. But here's the catch. The greatest barrier to that transformation is the fear of letting go. We cling to the familiar, even when it hurts, because the unknown terrifies us. We'd rather stay in the safety of empty relationships than confront the silence of solitude. But what we don't realize is that this solitude we fear so much is actually sacred. It's not punishment, it's a portal. It's in that quiet, uncomfortable space where something powerful begins to awaken. It's where real self-love is born. When you finally sit with yourself in that silence you've tried so hard to avoid, you uncover something incredible. There was never anything to fear. The peace you've been desperately searching for in other people was always within you. And once you arrive at that realization, something shifts. You no longer settle for half-hearted connections. You no longer feel the need to fill your emptiness with people who subtract instead of add. Because now, the love you give comes from fullness, not from lack. And that's when life begins to respond to you differently. When you truly love yourself, you stop chasing. You stop fighting for a seat at tables where you're not welcomed. What's meant for you arrives effortlessly, not because you begged for it, but because you became aligned with it. Relationships stop being about fear, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, and start being about joy, about sharing, not surviving. You're no longer tangled in games of control or manipulation. You no longer cling to what doesn't flow. People who once felt indispensable suddenly seem irrelevant, not because you stopped loving them, but because you've grown. You've evolved beyond that chapter of your life. You now understand that endings don't always mean failure. Sometimes they are the very blessings your soul has been asking for. There is a profound difference between wanting something and being ready to receive it. You might crave a healthy relationship, but if deep down you still believe you're unworthy of it, it will never arrive. You might long for deep, unconditional love, but if your wounds remain unhealed, you'll sabotage it the moment it knocks at your door. Because life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you're prepared to hold. So, if you've ever asked yourself, why does nothing change? Why do I keep finding myself in the same painful patterns? The answer is simple, but powerful. There's still something within you that needs to evolve. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because it's lovingly trying to show you what you've been avoiding. And the day you finally decide to let go, to release what no longer resonates with your essence, to choose peace over fear, that's the day everything will begin to transform. Because the love you seek, the wholeness you crave, the life you dream of, they've been there all along. They've just been waiting for you to believe you deserve them. Life isn't about chasing after what you think you lack. It's about becoming the version of yourself who naturally attracts all that is meant for you. But if you keep holding on to what hurts, if you insist on keeping relationships that drain your spirit, you're sending a message to the universe, whether consciously or not, that you don't believe you're worthy of more. And that's the tricky part. This message is rarely verbal. It's not what you say. It's what you do. It's the silent scream in your choices. Every time you stay in a place where your soul is dying. Every time you offer love to someone who hasn't earned it. Every time you betray yourself in the name of loyalty or hope. You reinforce a belief that you can't have better, that you don't deserve better. But here's the most empowering truth of all. You may not be able to control how others behave, but you can choose what you allow into your life. You can decide what gets your energy, your light, your time. You have the power to choose what you hold on to and what you finally let go. And in that choice lies your freedom. In that moment of clarity, when you no longer chase, no longer beg, no longer settle, you begin to rise. You become magnetic, not because you're seeking love, but because you've become love. You stop running toward happiness, because now happiness runs toward you. The journey back to yourself isn't always easy, but it is worth it, because in finding yourself, you stop needing anything else to complete you. You realize you were never broken, only buried under layers of fear, expectation, and pain. And once you remember who you are, truly and deeply, you will never again forget your worth. You will never again give your light to those who cannot see it. And the life you've always dreamed of will finally become the life you live. Jung once said that destiny isn't something written in the stars. It's something we shape, moment by moment, through the decisions we make. And when it comes to love, this couldn't be more true. If you keep attracting the same kind of people, if you find yourself trapped in the same cycles over and over again, it's not bad luck. It's not some kind of curse. It's simply your unconscious mind projecting itself into your experiences. Nothing on the outside will truly change until something within you does. The truth is, the right people don't arrive when you desperately need them to. They come when you've learned how to be okay on your own. When you've become someone who doesn't need to be saved. When you stop begging for love or validation. Because you've realized that true abundance doesn't come from having endless romantic options, but from the knowing that you don't need anyone else to feel whole. When you reach this level of self-awareness, when you finally understand your worth at a deep, unshakable level, everything begins to align. The unnecessary drama fades away. The people who were only around for convenience or ego slowly disappear. And the opportunities that once felt unreachable suddenly come to you effortlessly. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Energy doesn't lie. You can say you love yourself, but if you continue to tolerate what doesn't serve you, the universe will respond to that contradiction. You might say you're looking for a healthy relationship, but if you keep accepting half love, that's exactly what you'll keep receiving. Because the outer world will always mirror your inner world. That's why so many people feel like love is a constant battle. They feel they have to fight to be seen. They end up in relationships where they give more than they receive. But that's not coincidence. It's a pattern. And patterns don't break by themselves. They break when you make them conscious and choose differently. Everything shifts the moment you stop begging for love. The moment you realize your energy is sacred, and not just anyone deserves access to it. That's the moment your life begins to transform. When you truly love yourself, you don't need to prove anything. You don't chase. You don't cling. You don't try to convince anyone of your worth. You simply are. And when you stand confidently in your own light, without fear, only those who are ready to meet you in your truth will stay. And here's the thing. When you align with your truth, everything that doesn't resonate with it starts to fall apart. At first, it might feel like chaos, like you're losing too much, like life is taking more than it's giving. But Jung taught us that chaos is a necessary part of transformation. Before something new can be born, the old must die. This is where most people resist. They try to hold on to things that no longer belong in their lives, because the mind fears emptiness. It fears the unknown. It fears letting go without knowing what will come next. But the truth is, only when you let go without fear, only when you release what no longer serves you, does space open up for something new, something better, something aligned. Love isn't a war. It's not a test. It's not a prize you earn by proving your worth. Real love just is. If you have to force something to work, if you constantly feel the need to earn someone's attention or affection, that's not love. That's fear. That's attachment. And it's not sustainable. The relationships that are meant to stay in your life, they flow. They don't create anxiety. They don't make you doubt yourself. They don't keep you on an emotional roller coaster. If you find yourself constantly needing to prove your value, you need to stop and ask yourself a powerful question. Am I choosing this from love or from fear, from need? So many people confuse love with dependence. They stay in places where they are unhappy, simply because their fear of being alone is greater than their desire to be free. But here's the paradox. Freedom is the foundation of real love. Only those who are free to choose, without fear, without lack, without unresolved wounds, can experience love in its purest form. When you really love yourself, when your inner peace becomes your highest priority, you stop tolerating what you once accepted, not because you feel superior, but because you finally understood that love is never something to be begged for. It's not to be earned. It's not something to chase. Love is felt. Love is lived. Love is given freely and received effortlessly. And that's when life starts to surprise you. When you stop settling for less. When you stop looking outside for something that has always lived inside you. The universe responds the only way it can to someone who has awakened, by realigning your reality to match your new vibration. The right people begin to appear, not because they didn't exist before, but because now you're finally able to recognize them. You're no longer drawn to those who play with your energy, who breadcrumb you, or who don't know how to love you, because now, deep within, you know you deserve something different. The love you've been searching for was never in someone else. It was always inside you. And the reason so many people get lost in toxic relationships is because they haven't yet learned how to love themselves enough to choose better. But once you take that step, once you decide that your peace is worth more than any relationship, that's when the magic happens. Because now, you're no longer attracting from emptiness. You're no longer hoping someone else will fill your voids. You've learned to fill them yourself. And just when you stop searching, just when you let go, just when the fear and the anxiety fade away, that's when real love shows up. Not as something you chase, but as something that was always meant to meet you here. Once you return to yourself. When you make your happiness and self-love non-negotiable, the world you once knew begins to shift. You stop fearing the loss of others because you understand. Anyone truly meant to be in your life will never require force. You stop trying to prove your worth because you know that anyone who can't see it doesn't deserve your energy. And most importantly, you stop accepting less than you deserve because you finally learned how to give yourself everything you once begged for from others. Jung said that projection is the key to understanding our reality. Everything you see outside of you, everything you experience in your relationships, is a mirror of what's happening inside you. That's why, when you raise your level of self-love, when you begin to treat yourself with the same devotion you once gave to those who couldn't see your value, everything around you transforms. Love is no longer a power game. It's no longer a source of suffering. It becomes effortless. It becomes natural. It becomes something that simply happens. And the connections you attract from this space, they're real. They're aligned. They reflect the same light you now radiate. And that is the greatest realization of all. You were never broken. You were never incomplete. You never needed rescuing. You were always enough. You just hadn't seen it. Until now. Self-love isn't just about walking away from those who don't value you. It's about remembering who you are. It's about honoring your energy. It's about living in your truth, unapologetically. Because when you truly love yourself, when you hold your own light without doubt, only those who are ready to stand in it with you will remain. If this message resonated with you, I want you to do something right now. Share this video with someone who needs it. Someone you know is stuck in a cycle of relationships that don't bring them happiness. someone who still hasn't discovered their true worth. Because when you share this kind of knowledge, you're not just passing along a video, you're helping someone wake up. You're planting a seed of awareness, a spark of transformation. Leave me a comment down below. I truly want to know, what part of this message spoke to your heart? What decision are you ready to make today to change your life? Take a moment to reflect on that, because sometimes all it takes is a single choice to shift everything. Remember, your words don't just help you, they have the power to inspire others who are also walking this path of inner transformation. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell. Here, we talk about what truly matters, about the things that transform, that awaken your soul, and that bring you back to yourself. Every time you interact with this content, when you like it, when you comment, when you share, you're helping others find their light too. You're part of a movement that's bigger than yourself. You're helping build a community based on growth, truth, and authenticity. Real change always starts within. The life you dream of? It's closer than you think, but you have to dare to take that first step. And that first step begins now. I'll see you in the next video.